the main woman who I've always admired and who I was always gravitated to was my grandmother. That is when the commotion started. I think I was 7 to 8 years old. That was the first time I heard the word light. If I cut off from myself, then the reason for my birth is useless. How and why I got into this. Because in my school, I always prepared to enter into the dynamic world of, into the work culture. Or I just wanted to be like a professor, teach arts, language, literature, talk about history. That's what I was always interested in. History of people, history of places, history of culture, how deep their roots are, how we are all interconnected. But then, like we always say, that the entire world is one great family. But then how is it that family? What is that one thing that slowly connects us all together? But then when I finished my school years and when I got into graduation, somehow it led me into the fashion industry. So I was working as a fashion designer for some time. But then slowly, I realized that this is good on the monetary basis. Like financially, it's giving me a lot of, quite a lot of stability. With that money, I can have a house, I can send my kids to a good school, even save some, build a future like that. But then internally, I always felt that something is not right. There was always this stress. And it wasn't about work because I've been quite good at work, at organizing, and planning. So that was not a problem. But the problem was that I was not happy from inside because the work culture, the work ethics were a little different from the ethics that I grew up with myself. And also the main woman who I've always admired and who I was always gravitated to was my grandmother. Because she was a symbol of humility and strength and action and surrender. So these were the 4 qualities that really gravitated me to her. I have lived majority of my younger years with her. I spent a lot of my early childhood and my teenage years with her. So, and I always used to be with her, like always like a tail she had. I was always following her around. So whenever I just sit and observe how her life has been, if it would have been me, I would have been too arrogant, or I would have given up under the pressure, or however, how family situations are. It's not always roses. It's also thorns that you have to walk on. So somehow I felt that a lot of her years were spent working on those thorns. But the thorns only pricked the surface. They never sinked in. And that is what was, that made me, that attitude towards the life, her attitude towards the life pulled me. I always want to have that attitude. I don't want the thorns to prick me deep in. Of course, if you touch a thorn, it will prick you. But I don't want that pain to settle in. I want to keep this place for myself only. And I always felt that from her. So observing her, I realized, I thought maybe it was because of my grandfather. Slowly observing their relationships, I realized that it's not him that's giving her this ease. Then I thought maybe because her kids are settled, they are well educated, they've been learning good. So maybe it's that peace of mind. But then I realized it's also not that peace of mind. When I finally asked her, when I was around 7 to 8 years old girl, that where do you get this stillness? That these were my words, if I remember, that I don't know what it is, but that something, my grandmother, something pulls me to you. And I don't know why. And I know this is also not love, but this is something more. than love. Because I feel that you and I, we have a connection, and I don't know what is it, because whenever you're doing something, I always want to be around you. I don't want to play with a lot of people, but I just want to be surrounded by you, So she said, so I think for the first time, she said that because you feel me around yourself, it is because my light surrounds you. And that was the first time, I think I was 7 to 8 years old, that was the first time I heard the word light. And I said, but if I turn on the light will be on. I have the light. Then what is this light that you're talking about? She said, this is not the light that is outside. This is the light that is inside. And as a child, I slowly grew up with these questions in my head. How do I turn on the light inside? Why does it get turned off? What is it that affects me? Why cannot I have that light turned on always? So with these questions, I was growing up. So going through the teenage years, there are changes in the mind, there are changes in the body, there's changes in everything. So when those changes were happening, I kind of got a little sidetracked. With everything that was going around me, I felt that the thorns are pricking deep within. And that is when the commotion started. That is when in my mind, I was like, I don't want the thorns to prick in deep. Stop. So that stopping was not happening. And then there was this aggression, because this is not who I am. I am not this anger. I'm not this frustration. I'm not this tantrum. I'm not this, I am not this attitude that I was giving out. But then I wanted that stillness in life. However much, we practiced yoga, we practiced meditation in school, and also at home, it wasn't working. Okay, of course, I used to pray, I used to sing some stotrams, and I used to do some japa malas, even then, because my grandmother initiated me at a very young age into these things. Because she told me that you will find calmness in this thing. This will be your time, because during the teenage years, the mind is very active. If you tell them to sit for 2 minutes, they will still sit, but then they'll try to open the eyes. The mind is like a monkey then. So she said that those stotrams, when you will sing, your ears will listen. And that chant will be like your meditation. That rhythm will be your meditation. That energy you will get will be the energy that will help you turn on the light when it gets turned off. So slowly, I've grown up like this, with this kind of upbringing. So when I got into the work culture, the light was a very different question, because people didn't know about it. The attitude was different, and I did not want this, because I thought that to be happy in life, I can't have both things. I can't have this work and I can't be happy also. I need somewhere to cut off. Either I cut off from work or I cut off from myself. And I realized that if I cut off from myself, then the reason for my birth is useless, because I've been given this birth and it is very precious. And I choose to live as myself and not as how people want me to, or how everyone else wants me to. So I cut off from work, and that is how I met Naveen, and then we started off with this